Hi there, this is Coffee Small Talk Podcast. I am your host, Jack, and I am very glad to introduce my friend, my good friend. He's a coffee box founder in New Jersey, and he's Jeff. Jeff, can you say hello to our audience?
Yes, hello everyone. Ni hao. This is Jeff from New Jersey in the USA. Very glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks for your coming to my podcast. And you stay 2 weeks in Taiwan, and you have a lot of trip in Taiwan. Yes, so let's first we can talk about that. Why do you come to Taiwan?
Oh, well, I came to Taiwan for a holiday with family to enjoy. But one of the very exciting things I wanted to do was take you up on your invitation from last time to visit your coffee farm and learn more about coffee in Taiwan.
Okay, so can you tell more about your coffee trip from Taiwan?
Sure. So first, maybe I just say a little bit that I've been doing coffee for about 7, 8 years now.
Yeah.
I have a coffee shop in New Jersey called the Coffee Box.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity back in April to go to my roaster Intelligentsia and have a workshop, and for the first time meet a bunch of coffee farmers and really learn more about the coffee farm. But I had never had the opportunity to come to one. And so I've never before this weekend even seen a coffee cherry fresh from the tree in the post-production harvest and stuff like that. So I had the most wonderful trip of going from the east side of Taiwan over through Taipei and driving down around the other side of the mountains to see the mountains on the west side, which were absolutely beautiful, and to get to visit both your coffee farm and another coffee farm and meet some Cup of Excellence winners and also learn a lot about post-harvest production.
Yeah, because we have a small conversation before you come to my coffee farm, and that before you open your cafe, before you are an IT guys, so you are doing a lot of high technique product and also like the system. So why do you change to become a coffee shop owner from the first time?
Sure. So I had done corporate IT for over 25 years. And one of the real benefits of working for a pharmaceutical company is I had a global job that got me around the world to visit many different places while I was doing the IT work. I had never been a coffee drinker before my 30s. And then through that work, learned to drink first bad coffee. And then I learned about good coffee. And I spent a lot of time visiting Switzerland, and in Switzerland they have a coffee culture that before we're going to sit down for a meeting or have a difficult discussion, we have the opportunity to sit over a cup of coffee to make a good relationship and then have the possibility to go on. So that's how I first learned about coffee. And then through one of my coworkers, my famous friend Dennis from Malaysia, he taught me a lot about specialty coffee, because I learned that he was a coffee expert. So when I left I decided after 25 years that I had enough of corporate work. I decided to take a break, and I left the company and was going to take a break for a while, not knowing what I was going to do. And I never dreamed about opening a coffee shop. But then in my neighborhood, I saw a little shop was becoming available. It was something else. And I said to one of my neighbors, this would be a good place for a coffee shop. And I started to research first casually at first, and then decided to finally open one. I had that shop for some years, and then the shop that I'm in now, is just about to hit 6 years in February. So it's been a very exciting coffee journey.
For 7 years or 8 years?
So
it's from 2015, right?
So 2016 is when I opened the first store. 2019 I opened the second store. And the second store closed maybe 3 years ago. And so the second store now I've had for almost 6 years.
I see. And I know because I keep follow your Facebook and also your coffee shop brand Facebook, and we see a lot of you have a very strong community and the relationship with the neighborhood in your location. And you are open to hold like the music festival and a lot of different kind of event. So can you share more about your community in your location?
Sure. Well, I think one of the things that has really driven me to coffee in general is that coffee is all about community, and community is one of the most important things to me. So that within my shop, it was very important to create an environment where people could enjoy to be with each other. And I'm very lucky that where my shop is, we have many creative people, artists and musicians. And
I know several of your baristas they are artisans too, right?
Yes, yes. I have my baristas as well as being artisans in coffee and baking. Some as well are good in music and fashion and photography.
There's a model.
Yes, including a model who is also one of my very good bakers, and also beginning barista learning this as well. So that's been a lot of fun. So as well as having communication at the local level, coffee has made a nice global connection of whenever you go around the world, I find a new coffee shop. This is how I found you 4 years ago, just wandering into your shop. And through the magic of Facebook and Instagram, we've kept track all these years and become good friends.
Connect.
Yes, yes. And that's what's so nice about the coffee community is we can connect, but we can also enjoy a wonderful product. And also the story of coffee, anything that can build the community from the farm to the post-processing, to the roaster, to the cafe. I know in the US, for my customers who sit in a coffee shop, they are so far away from the experience of a farm.
Yeah.
And I think as well, especially in some of the poorer coffee countries where the labor who picks coffee, or it's a very very difficult job. Is they're probably
they have a word said that the richest country they consume the coffee, and the poorest country they produce the coffee.
Yeah, this is very true. Taiwan's probably somewhere in between that, because Taiwan is a much more rich coffee than a country than other coffee countries. So maybe
I think
here
our producers are very rich.
Yeah, so here your producers can both pick the coffee and drink the coffee, but I think that's unusual in the coffee world.
Yeah, right. It's a very different kind of sample in the whole world industry.
Yep, and I think this also makes a challenge for Taiwan that's now having wonderful coffee, but trying to get it into the global market.
Yeah,
it's very expensive to produce good coffee.
Yeah, sure. And so we saw you're a very successful coffee shop in New Jersey. And before you open your coffee shop, become a coffee owner, you are a coffee drinker before. And how do you training and learning about how do you build your coffee skill from before become a coffee shop owner?
Sure. Well, I think one thing is I'm very curious for the things that I do, and I also know that most of my friendships involve eating and meals, and so that also translates very well to coffee. Like I said,
so you have a good sensory.
I developed the sensory when I first started. I didn't have very good sensory, but now that I've done it for some years,
that sounds interesting. How do you build your sensory?
I think building the sensory is just by tasting more and more coffee. That in the U.S., most people drink, as like a lot of the world, drink a lot of bad coffee. So they're used to putting lots of milk, lots of sugar. If you look at some of the big brands, it's all the flavors and the syrups and the artificial stuff, so that you don't really get to taste the coffee. By having a wonderful roaster like Intelligentsia, where I get such wonderful coffee from around the world, we really encourage the customers to just taste it black. And then many people know that there's the coffee tasting wheel, which helps you put names to different flavors. So as we know, some chocolates, some coffee can be very fruity, some can taste more like chocolate, some can be earthy, some can be nutty. And so every time we get a new coffee, my staff and I get together, we drink the coffee, and then we try to understand the flavor notes. And I think, like anything, the practice, the more you do it, the better you get at doing that. And I think that's very fun, and it's a good way to both educate myself and my customers of learning how to enjoy different coffees from around the world.
Usually, is there any particular instructor or like a trainer to train you to how to build your sensory, or you all learn by yourself?
So it's a mix. So certainly when we opened up the shop, we had wonderful support from Intelligentsia that helped us design the shop, the equipment, also train us in basic team building, but also teaching us all the barista basics.
I see.
And that's a long-term journey, so that they continue to support us that way. And then through the experience of just getting the coffee and trying it in the shop and meeting different people, we also develop a lot of skills in-house. It's also very exciting for us to train baristas, because most of our baristas have very little coffee experience.
I see.
So a lot of times it's training people from scratch. And that's a fun thing as people discover and build their own skills. And I love, I have basic understanding of barista. I can do, I'm not a great barista, but I can do the basic stuff. And I love when I can train someone who has a potential to be a much better barista than me over time. Same thing with my bakers and the people who make my food and stuff like that, is having a young staff who's very interested in picking up skills. Makes it very, very exciting.
Yeah. When you mentioned Intelligentsia, can you, because most of our audience, they didn't know the Intelligentsia coffee roaster in the state. Can you introduce a little bit about the Intelligentsia?
Sure. So Intelligentsia is one of the best known U.S. roasters in the United States, because they've been very involved for decades now.
I think they are the pioneer in the United States, right?
Yeah, sure. They're certainly in third wave. They've been a big player in that. And what's important about Intelligentsia is with their farms or local cooperative, they have the direct trade model. Yeah. This is where they're buying direct from farms or small cooperatives versus big coffee brokers and things like that. The advantage of doing that is they're getting better quality coffee, because they're able to work with the farms to improve their production. They're paying above fair trade, so that there's a fair wage that goes back to the farmers to make it sustainable. And a lot of their farms I work with, because of this good relationship, continues for many, many years. And the more years they have the relationship, the better and better the coffee results are. And a lot of them are quite high scoring.
I see. So that the Intelligentsia is not only the direct trader, they purchase the coffee from each country. And I know they also educate the producer by the market. And also they train the consumer, like different kind of retail coffee shop to build their coffee skill, right?
Yes. And I think for people to understand the difference between commercial grade coffee and specialty coffee. So just like wines, we know that specialty coffee is scoring above a certain amount, and the commercial coffee, which is a lot of what the coffee is sold in US, a lot of the big companies are trying to buy the coffee cheaper and cheaper and cheaper to make the most money. Where in specialty, let's say that the people value the relationship and the quality and the production, and are willing to pay more of a price, because it's not driving farmers into poverty, but helping them be sustainable for the long term. And so that results in better coffee and better for the farmers. Like some of the farms now, they have things like education for the children, healthcare, even simple things like
education,
even things like having bathrooms near the farm that people can use are huge things. And by having a healthier
they also build like the school, like a shelter. Yeah.
So these sorts of things. And so what I tell my customers is, maybe you're paying $1 more for coffee, but
also improve the life quality of the producer's society.
Yeah. So I think what's nice is it goes all the way through the supply chain. So this means that not only does the customer get better coffee, but they know that a good part of their money goes all the way back.
So it's kind of like a win-win business model, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know one of the things that's important with this direct trade model is that they will guarantee a price to the farmer for the whole season.
Above the C market price.
Yeah, well above the C market and above the fair trade price. In that way, it's good for the roaster, because they can predict their financials, but it also is good for the farmer, because they know what they can invest in and have a solid income through a coffee season. And what's nice is we know, as you know well, in the farm, is some years the farm does better, some years do worse. And by having that long-term relationship, both sides can benefit, and whether
to share the risky and also the cost.
Yeah, so share both let's say sharing both the risk and the rewards for successful long term. And a lot of times in commercial coffee, you don't have that same level of relationship.
I see. And you just before I remember, you just mentioned about in like October or like in August, you just involved a coffee farmer workshop in Chicago in the SCA Expo. And can you introduce more about like the intentions how they hold the farmer workshop, right?
Yeah, so this was back in April of this year that there's the big annual coffee show, the Specialty Coffee Association, SCA, which had, I think, 17,000 people come.
17,000.
And this was in Chicago where Intelligentsia is based. So they had a workshop a few days before, and they invited their direct trade partners to come for a workshop.
What is their main purpose for holding like this kind of farmer producer forum or like a workshop?
Sure, it's called the Exceptional Coffee Workshop, and it's to bring some of the best coffee people in the world together, and they're sharing best practices. They're also sharing the information of what the business is looking for. And so it gives the farmers the understanding of what Intelligentsia is looking for, and it's also that they can share best practices.
So that the producer will learn more about how to produce the most correct product to the market.
Yeah, so a lot of these are very well-established farms with a lot of knowledge, and a lot of them are involved in World Coffee Research, which is a trade group now that's looking to improve coffee across the world by looking at impacts of climate change. Of a lot of times in local countries, maybe the farms only know about things about them. And through these sorts
of worldwide.
So building these relationships, they can take best practices from different countries, and especially as the climate changes, maybe they can learn from different countries' processes that they're doing for better harvesting, for irrigation, for preventing rust leaf.
They do a lot of research in the genotype coffee plant, and also like they are still breeding a new variety and cultivar for the climate change.
Yeah, so they're looking to increase the biodiversity. So, for example, we know that apples have about 5,000 different cultivars, where in coffee it's only like 130 something, and they're trying.
And the main character is like typical group and bourbon group.
Yep. So they're trying to more than double that by the year 2030. I think they want to get up to about 300 for coffee that will help the long-term sustainability.
I see. So what do you learn and what do you see in the workshop?
So it was, first I was so appreciative that they let me sneak in and sit there. I was the only wholesale Intelligentsia coffee person who got to sit in the room. And just to...
So only the producer can be invited to the workshop?
Yeah, so the producers were there, as well as all the key people from Intelligentsia, and then some experts that they brought in to speak to them. So, to meet some of the people who I had tried their coffee already, and some of my favorite coffees I drank this year. Then I got to meet the producer in the room. And so it was, again, my goal of me going there was to be able to connect my customers to learn more about the farm. And it was also interesting because they could talk to me and understand how my customers understand their coffee and what they, what things they sort of liked. And so it was a great community, and a lot of these farmers have worked together for years. So for them, it's also a global reunion. And this had been the first time since COVID, so a lot of them had not seen each other for several years. I see.
So it's cool for this kind of coffee workshop for the Intelligentsia they hold, and I think it like more empower or building the power and knowledge to the producer to make them have a more good practice, and also the new knowledge and information from the worldwide supply chain.
Yep, and I'm very hopeful that some year then I'll see Taiwan participating in these workshops.
Yeah, we will, because now we are too small for the global supply chain. We only produce like 1,000 tons of the green coffee per year. So that is a very tiny production for the coffee global chain.
Absolutely, but if it's people understand that it's better and better, then at least people will want to try the premium coffee that comes out of Taiwan.
Yeah, and so let's talk about, and you just mentioned that you first begin to start to get inside the coffee farm in this trip, and you saw the coffee tree, you see the post-harvest technique, you see the old community in the coffee farm in Taiwan, and what do you is that change your vision or your thought about the coffee?
Well, it was just so exciting. Like I said, having never seen it before, and the mountains of Taiwan were absolutely beautiful. You know, I've been staying in Ilan, which is a beautiful place, but raining all the time, and to wake up in this beautiful mountain. So the beauty of it was there, the beauty of the coffee trees. I was excited to see the biodiversity at the farms that we've learned that the from regenerative agriculture and things like this, the more diversity, the better the coffee is going to do. The plants are going to do over time. So I learned a lot there, and like I said, even just holding a coffee cherry, splitting it apart, and then in the post production, you know, I've only seen pictures or read books or seen videos, and so to see you take your different coffee samples and put them all the way through the process was a very eye-opening experience for me as well.
Yeah, I see. And also that in this trip, you also involved to become a coffee picker.
Yeah, so I had only a couple hours to pick coffee, and I saw how difficult it is to do this, that the sun was very hot, and as I'm starting to pick the ripe cherries,
you are sweating.
I'm sweaty, and I'm slow, and I look at the end of 2 hours, and I just have this tiny little bag, and I'm sure that if I was a coffee picker, and I wouldn't make very good wages picking coffee unless I got much better. But I definitely appreciated the experience.
Yeah, can you share? Because I think the most audience, they also didn't pick the cherry before.
Yeah.
So when you finish your first picking, what is your tips for the coffee if you want to teach another one who want to become a coffee picker?
Yeah, absolutely. Get a much bigger hat and put a lot of sunscreen on. So for sustainability. No, but it's, you know, you get to, I'm sure as people do it, I had to make sure that I knew which tree was which kind of coffee, and I'm sure you get more expertise as you do this, and I'm sure people get faster and faster as they do it. And what's so beautiful about coffee is, you know, it's ripening at different times, so you can't just grab everything, you need to grab the right things. Then when we drove through the tea country, and I saw, oh my goodness, tea so big, leaves so easy to pick. I know tea is very difficult too, but it just looked like tea was a lot easier than coffee to pick and produce. But that's because coffee is also still very young in Taiwan.
Yeah, right. And also, in like past of the month, I just sent you a big sample of the Taiwanese coffee, and that we have introduced like the North region and also the Central region and also the Southwest region. Can you share the feeling when you test all the sample after you test?
Yeah, so this is very nice. You sent me 15 different samples, just 15. A little bit, just enough to make one small batch of each one. And so each day with my staff, we picked one. Some were wash processed, some were natural, some were honey processed, some were from north and south, some were some Typica and bourbon, SL34, I think, as well. And so it was fun with my staff to try a different one, to see which ones. Almost all of them we like very much, but they have very different tastes. So
different kind of flavor profile and a character.
Yeah, so this was exciting with my staff to be able to try these side by side. And then we wrote down our tasting notes. Tasting notes, I guess in the beginning, is very subjective. So Are we tasting citrus flavors? Are we tasting molasses or sugar flavors? Are we tasting good things? Are we tasting any defects, things like that? And so we'd have a big debate, and then we would write down our different tasting notes.
And in your opinion, do you think like Taiwanese coffee, the quality is okay to welcome into the state market?
Oh yes, I think very much. So almost everything you sent us, we very much enjoyed.
I see.
And I think that the quality of that kept up very much with the specialty market in the U.S.
I see.
And I think just like people enjoy discovering new wines or new whiskeys or things like
The
that.
new regions of the wine.
Yeah, I think that the more sophisticated customers are always excited to try something new. And then to my customers who just happen to wander in, and maybe they're the ones who drink more of the pumpkin lattes or the caramel lattes as they came in, I would give them a little taste too, because we also want to treat Americans or teach Americans to be able to drink proper black coffee and not have to put all the
sugar,
stuff in
cream.
it. Yes, maybe everybody loves their caramel latte or something like that, but then you're tasting more the sugar in the milk and not so much the espresso or the coffee.
I see. So I want to ask you, like, in your opinion, what do you think the Taiwanese main character coffee profile in the cup of the coffee, and also, like, what do you think about the Taiwanese terroir?
Yeah, so I guess overall we found some of the higher expressions in the stone fruits. So maybe like the apricot flavors.
Apricot flavor.
Yeah, some in the a lot of them had citrus notes, maybe lime or some sweet orange. We especially like the ones that gave maybe an exciting start and a nice lingering and smooth finish. And so those are exciting. We had one that had a big taste and disappeared. And so you tasted and it was bam and gone.
And I know that yellow bourbon, right?
Yeah, and then we had one that was maybe a little not as exciting as the other one, but the ones that we liked best had a sort of a flavor adventure and then just a very long, smooth tail that you could just taste it very smoothly for
and a good linger.
A nice long linger. That's my favorite taste profile, and I think of those people who enjoyed it. So, and a really good coffee you can enjoy. First when it's hot, you get a little taste. Maybe the flavor opens up more as it cools a little bit. And a good coffee you can drink all the way down to room temperature, and it's still tasting delicious all the way through to the end of the taste.
I see. Okay, so the last question I will ask you is like, as a coffee owner, a cafe owner in the United States, and also you can maybe you can be kind of represent the United States marketing voice. So what do you want to tell to the Taiwanese coffee producer? What kind of product is the United States of the market to seeking the beans?
Well, I think like I said, should go after the more higher end customer who's willing to pay more for a special type of coffee.
You mean the premium?
Yeah, so customer. The premier. So I have some friends who will spend enormous amounts of money on a special wine to try it with their friends. And I think for people who want to try some new tastes, learn more about origin. So I think what's really important is that with the coffee, the story comes along.
The story behind the coffee.
Yeah. And in the U.S., people don't even know where Taiwan is, or they say they mix up Taiwan and Thailand.
Yeah,
it sounds the same and all this sort of stuff. So I think the cultural aspect helps with that, and really showcasing that Taiwanese coffee can compete nicely against other countries. I was glad in our visit that we met several people who were Cup of Excellence winners.
Yep.
These are some of the people who've been judged for having outstanding coffee in Taiwan, and I think that those winners would stand up very well with people. So probably what needs to happen is support from the Taiwanese government to give some money to send people to SCA to when I went to the big coffee trade show, you saw that some countries spend a lot of money. So you'd see a big giant booth from Kenya, or you'd see a big booth from Panama, and this is to help introduce the coffee to the world. So I think it's something that coffee farmers alone are not going to be able to afford on their own to make these big visits. But I think I think certainly the world knows a lot about the quality of Taiwanese tea and oolongs and the high mountain tea, and hopefully that they can learn that the coffee is up and coming.
Yeah, same. Look forward for that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very thanks for the Jeff to come in, join our podcast today. Thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, and thank you for this wonderful coffee journey. And I look forward to seeing eventually Taiwanese coffee up on my shelves someday in the U.S. So thank you, Jack.
Thanks. Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye.